Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. Today's Tuesday and it's like about 5:30 in the evening, and I'm getting ready to do something here, and I wanted to go through it a little bit more in depth and show some of the stuff that I'm using and give a brief explanation on why, why this would be something that might be helpful if you were doing what I do. So, okay, here's where I am. I'm down on the back part of our property, and this field is a field that I've already cut. All right, so I probably finished baling this up, was it 9 days ago, 8-9 days ago. All right, and then we've gotten some rain. We've gotten some real rain, which is great. And so I'm all greened up again, and now it's just, we'll wait a month and we'll get some good growth out here, and maybe we'll get a nice cutting off of it again. This over here is where I couldn't cut. I couldn't get over too close here because it's wet and it's trees. There's a lot of trees in there. On the other side of those trees right there is a pond, pretty good sized pond, and we have fish in there. But I can't cut that grass off. So what I want to do is I want to move those guys, those are the cows over there. I'm going to move them through this fence. There's a gate over there in the corner, and I want them on here, but I don't want them out here. I don't want them out into the hayfield. I want them to utilize the hay that's in there. So I've got some equipment here that I'm just going to go through, and I know I've gone through it before, but it's not like everybody can go back and access every single video that I've made, and I'm got a little bit different approach to it this time than I have in the past when I'm doing it up on the top of the farm. Way different down here. Okay, so here's the equipment that I'm going to be using. I have it right sitting there on the hood of the old Jeep, and I've got a fencer, and as you can see, I'm quite a ways from the house. 80-acre farm is actually a half a mile deep and a quarter mile wide. So I can't run power down here. I mean, I could, but I don't have it down here, and I'm not about to run it down here for an electric fence. So what I have here is a solar powered electric fence, and this is a real good one. I've had this one for, well, I have two of them just like it. One of them I've had for 8 years, and the other one I've had for 5 years, because the first one I got, I liked it so much I got another one, and it was fairly expensive, $300. This one is designed to service 30 miles is what it says. So I would have to go around this farm quite a few times in order to make 30 miles. So that's good. I mean, the rule of thumb for fences, as far as I'm concerned, is spend the most you can afford. The more you can afford, the better fencer you're going to get. If you're saying to yourself, well, I don't need to go 30 miles, what you really need is something that's going to deliver a really good shock, and hopefully your cows only get shocked once in their life, and then they never want to do it again. I know I got shocked by that one time, and it was a real experience. Okay, so I've got that fencer. It's solar, which means it's got a solar collector on top and then several batteries inside that it charges. And when there is a connection between the fence and ground, it'll discharge into whatever makes that connection. If it's a cow, she gets the whole thing. Can you hurt them? No. These are designed to be really low amperage but high voltage. All right, so there's no horsepower to the shock that it's being given. It's just a high voltage shock, so it's not going to move anything in the body that it's shocking. All right, the next thing that I'm going to need is a way to hold the fence up. And I use these. I have a lot of these. They have a little step in on them. See that? I can put that down on the ground and step that in about a second. All right? And it's steel. These were about $2, right? And that pigtail on there is to hold the wire. And the white stuff that's on there is an insulation from ground. I've had these a long time. I think these ones I've had 10 years. And some of them have kind of given out. The insulation is given out because they're outside in the sun, and that's what really beats stuff up. And so I've used some liquid rubber on a lot of them. You can see this one, just to get some more mileage out of them. Okay, and then this is the poly wire. Okay, see that wire? And it comes, I have it installed on this reel. Here, let me set that down. Turn this baby around. All right, so I can put it out, and this reel, I can take it back up if I have to. You know, and then on the end here, there's an insulated handle. So when I am ready to charge this thing up, if I'm connecting it to something, how do I put that? Okay, if I'm connecting it to something that's already hot, then I can use this handle, and when I'm holding on to the insulated part of it, I don't get shocked, right? But this is where the electricity will flow into the poly wire. Now that poly wire is poly, so it's polyvinyl chloride, which is like PVC, and then it's got filaments in it, nichrome wire. It's got several filaments through it, and they're highly conductive. Now, don't think that there's electricity flowing through that line, because that's not really how it works. The potential is there, but unless there's a path to ground, it doesn't move. So when we put this fence up, it's going to be insulated from ground. And it's only when a cow comes over and rubs up against it or walks into it that potential discharges to ground, and it goes through the cow, and the cow gets a real wake-up call. Cows, you know, they're really well grounded because they've got 4 hoofs that kind of poke into the ground, and they go down kind of deep when they're stepping. And if there's a discharge through them, they take it really personally. They do not like it. So when they see this wire, as small as this wire is, if they've gotten shocked, they know. And I can tell you, handling this stuff, having been shocked myself, whenever I grab for a piece of wire, it always causes me to think twice. You know, make sure that it's off. Same thing with the fencer. It's sitting there on the Jeep, and there's 2 wires hanging out of it. You can see there's a red terminal and a green terminal. The green terminal is ground. Red terminal is positive or potential positive. On this particular one, you can see the switch is way up underneath, and you have to get down and you have to look at it to make sure it's off, and it goes into the winter mode or the summer mode. And I'm not really sure what that is, to be honest with you. I never did read the directions to figure out which was which, you know, what's the difference between summer mode and winter mode. It probably is the duration of the sun going across, but I don't know. I never did look at that. And off is right in the middle. And if you're not looking directly at the switch, you can think you have it off. And that's how I got shocked with this before, is I thought it was off. Now, when I go to handle this fencer, I make sure. I look at it very closely. That's the only thing I don't like about this fencer is the position of the switch on there, because I can't I can't see it easily, you know, so it makes me have to take a moment, bend down, and look up to see if the switch is off. That's the only thing I don't like about it. And this one, if you're interested, is a Reba. I get them from Tractor Supply. They handle a bunch of that stuff. This one's worked really good. I've never had any problems with the two of them, and we have had very, very good luck with the animals not going through the fence. Now, when you set your fence up, let's say you have a milkweed go up against it, or a tree falls on it, something like that. If it's a direct short to ground, the fencer will sit there and discharge, and eventually you'll wear the batteries out on it. It will discharge it down to nothing. But if it's not a good ground, if it's a partial ground, then you won't get a full discharge. And the fencer has a way of knowing, let's not do this. I don't know how that works, but it does. So it doesn't run itself down. You can have no sun, and this fencer is supposed to go for 30 days on the battery that's in it. But that's provided that you're not constantly discharging to ground. Okay? Could do a whole class on that, how chargers work, how fence chargers work, but we won't do that now. Okay, so you can see here, this is the line. This is where I cut and this is where I didn't cut. So I'm going to set my fence up right along that line. And the thought here is, there's lots of grass on that side. There's not much grass on this side. I don't want to tempt the cows to get shocked. Not really. And let's say that my fencer was not working properly. I want them to be looking over on this side and say, oh, there's no grass over there. Let's stay over here. So it's a psychological tool that I'm using with the cows. And also with pigs, too. I mean, it works about the same. Except pigs aren't looking at it thinking, oh, well, there's more stuff over here than there is over here. Pigs just kind of follow their nose, and if they're able to go up against the fence and it doesn't shock them, they just keep going. Cows are a little bit different. I could put this fence up here with no electricity on it, and chances are really good that they would never try it. And down here I could get away with it, because if they ever did go through it, there's really no place for them to go because it's completely fenced all the way around. What I really don't want, though, is I don't want them eating the hay off of this field, because I want to cut this hay and put it in the barn. But along those lines, my barn's full. I have all the hay that I need. I got all the hay I needed in my first cutting. I got enough. You know, I've calculated the hay that I need for the days that I'm going to have, and I have enough. So it does go through my mind that, you know, why don't I just not worry about cutting the rest of the year? Why don't I just graze? So here's how I came to the decision on that. Was right now I'm in good shape, but something could happen to where we're not able to get on the field next year the way we weren't get on the fields this year, and maybe it'll be 2 weeks later, so I'll need 2 weeks more of hay. Or we might have a breakdown, like my rake broke this time and I couldn't find an axle for it. And maybe I would need, you know, I'm just preparing. I'm preparing for something that I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I want to have more hay on hand than I believe that I will need, if that makes sense. I think it should make sense to everybody. Something else could happen now. We've got a problem with a lot of our corn didn't get planted, so that means there's going to be a feed shortage coming up this year. So that means there may be a lot of calves around that need a home, and there'll be inexpensive. So if you have extra feed, you may be able to run it through calves and, you know, convert. All you're really doing with hay is you're converting it from hay into beef or hay into milk. You know, you're growing cows with it. So if there's a bunch of cows available and I have a bunch of hay, I may be able to, you know, get a little bit ahead with that hay because cows are available or calves are available or something like that. All right, so I'm going to get on with this. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, anyone can farm.